Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Goud Crowd. I am your host, Goud. I am actually coming to you from sunny San Diego. I'm out here visiting family, so the show must go on. And so I'm out here. We have a good show today. We'll talk about the efforts to remove Mike Carey, and so we'll have both Michael Clara and then Kay Sanderson call in. And then we'll also discuss, there was a really great opinion that came out of the Government Records Office last week that limits the vexatious requester law in Utah. And this is a law that has impacted the ability of people to make grandma requests. And grandma is like FOIA. It's a sunshine law that lets us get documents from the government. I think we got a really strong decision that'll be really beneficial, and it'll stop discouraging people from making grandma requests. But let's start with some random things before we get started on interviews. So this is kind of interesting, but I've been making homemade bread. And one of the things I've noticed is that the bread that is homemade molds a lot faster than store-bought bread. So a friend of mine brought some store-bought bread to my house maybe a month ago. And it is still not moldy, but bread that I made at home actually got molded very quickly in less than a week. And so I do wonder what is in that store-bought bread. And if it's not molding, should you be eating it? Like, what are they putting in it to prevent it from molding? And that is something that, Mr. Producer says preservatives. Yeah, I know. But I think the question is, what kinds of preservatives? I mean, what makes it so it can stay good for that long and not get moldy? And then really, like, what do you think that does to your body when you eat it? It's disgusting. Okay, it was a question for, I guess, the audience. Now, I will note, last week we had Brandy on the show, and she talked about how her daughter is facing racism in her schools. And so her daughter's white and part Jewish. And so Brandy was saying that the kids are calling her names because she is white, and her and the other kid because they're the minorities in the school. And they are actually uncomfortable saying, like, her daughter cannot say that she's part Jewish because there are students there who are anti-Semitic. And so what we're going to do is next week, Brandy will come back on, and we'll also have Monica Wilbur on, and we're going to have a discussion of how you actually handle situations like this in the schools. Because as many of you know, I don't have kids, so I really don't have a sense of what you do in that situation. But hopefully Monica can help us kind of parse through it. And obviously, if you're a parent out there, if you're a teacher, if you're an educator, and you have insights into this, we would love to hear from you, because I think Brandy is looking for advice. Okay, so let's start with this. We actually got a big Maha win today. And I know I've been a little bit feeling like Trump isn't accomplishing enough, and I still feel that way. But I do think wins like this are actually important. So let's take a look at this. Give me 1 second. Let me get the video so you can watch it.
Doses of some for long and far too long period of time. America's recommended more childhood vaccines than any peer nation, and even twice as many doses as some European countries, and even more than that. In many cases, we're requiring 72 jabs for our beautiful, healthy, lovely, delicate little children, including giving the hepatitis B shot to infants and newborns on top of many other vaccinations. The hepatitis B shouldn't be given until they're 14 or 15 years old. They were given early. Effective immediately, my administration is recognizing gold standard childhood vaccine recommendations for only 11 core vaccinations against the most serious and dangerous diseases, along with the MMR, which hopefully will be split up You have the MMR. We want it in 3 separate vaccinations, given at separate times. Together.
Okay, so they're going to cut the number of vaccinations for children from 72 of these kind of mandated vaccines to 11, and then space them out. I think this is great. Big win for if you care about health of children and you care about safety. This is what MAHA is about. And so I give President Trump credit for actually getting that done. Now, there was a great talk here. Let's see. I saw RFK Jr. actually addressed their media there. And, they go on saying all these talking points about how vaccines are safe and effective. And I think a lot of it is that they make money off of it. And it should give you a sense of how bad our media is, that they'll say anything for a buck. It's disgusting, people. Anyway, here you go.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by just reinforcing something that the president said, which is the source of his concern about this issue. And I'll just give an example. In 1970, the biggest epidemiological study at that time in history was performed. And the university scientists from across this country looked at all the 8-year-olds in Wisconsin, about 900,000 children. And they were looking for autism, and they knew what autism looked like. And they came back with an incident rate of 0.8 per 10,000. So less than 1 in 10,000. The rate, according to CDC today in this country, is 1 in every 31 children. In California, it's 1 in every 19 children, 1 in every 12.5 boys. Thank you.
So you have a autism epidemic in America. It is an American problem, and these numbers they're horrible, right? And I'm not trying to attack anyone that has autism. That's not the issue. The issue is, can we prevent it? And is it being caused by something that we're doing, and can we prevent it from happening? Because obviously the ideal situation is that kids don't have autism at those rates. And then we go back to those 1970s rates where it was less than 1 per 10,000 versus now. I mean, what he talked about in California is crazy. So hopefully some of this improvement on the vaccine issue will get to that, because I'll be honest, my own thinking is that it probably is a vaccine issue that's causing it. Now, obviously I don't have any proof of that, but I think there's parents that talk about it. Here, let's one more clip from RFK.
.8 per 10,000. Incident rate of 0.8 per 10,000. So less than 1 in 10,000. The rate, according to CDC today in this country, is 1 in every 31 children. In California, it's 1 in every.
This will go a little bit longer than we just listened to.
12.5 boys. So there has been a dramatic increase. One of the things that the industry likes to say, one of the talking points, which the press loves to parrot, is, we're just noticing it more. But this is an absurdity, and this is an assertion that has been debunked again and again and again by peer-reviewed literature. But it's also debunked by common sense. Because if we were just noticing it more, we would notice it in older groups. But we're not. We're only noticing it in kids who were born around 1989 or after. The older generations, you're not seeing those increases. So something happened in the mid-90s that changed our children, and it has to be an environmental exposure. Because genes don't cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability, but you need an environmental toxin. And what the president has charged us with is finding which one of those exposures or which collection of exposures are causing this epidemic. For decades, I fought for a simple principle.
Okay, so he talks about it, right? It's that 1989, that's the date he says. And I think that's when he saw that massive increase in the number of vaccines that they are mandating for children. So look, we have to be excited about the positives that come out of the administration, because that's the reason why we voted for Trump. And this is a huge improvement over the current situation. And you're not going to get it from the Democrats for the most part. And you're also not going to get it from a lot of the mainstream Republicans too. Senator Bill Cassidy came out saying, I'm a doctor. And that means that I think everyone should get all these vaccines. And when I see stuff like that, we have local elected officials who also like to cite their being a doctor as this, then you must believe everything they say. And I just don't, I'm sorry, like, no, I'm not interested. But I think what you have to realize is a lot of these doctors make a lot of money off of vaccines, and they are driven by that financial incentive to lie about the effects. So that's the thing. I love this about Trump. I love the Maha movement. I'm glad we're making some progress. I wish there was more, but this is more than we would ever get with any Republican administration and any Democrat administration, unfortunately, at this point, at least with the people that are running. Because even when you look at, they've got that El Said guy in Michigan, right? He's a doctor. He was a public health administrator, and he's pushing all this vaccine crap too. So, you have a lot of a system where everyone's entrenched in going on promoting vaccines. And so we finally have some improvement, finally some progress. We got, let's see, Creates for Joy 1 says, I would agree. And they still allow parents and doctors to make the final decision. Oh yeah, this was actually a piece I forgot to mention. Trump also instructed DOJ to go after states that are denying parents religious and medical exemptions from vaccines for their children. So also a positive, because a lot of the blue states are trying to completely take away the ability of parents to exempt their children from vaccines. Now, I actually think you shouldn't even have to have a justification. Vaccines should be voluntary. If they're a great product, you should be able to convince people to take them without a mandate. Mr. Producer said there's a trigger, probably preservatives in the bread or vaccines. Maybe, but I'm assuming the babies aren't eating bread yet, so I think it's the vaccines. Creates for Joy 1 says, I would agree, and they still, okay. Is this the chat for SL County GOP discussion? Yes. Yeah. If you put stuff in there, I can read it live. And so I'll read it on the air as we kind of go through this. Okay, let's see. What do I have next here? Let's see. We'll have Michael Clara is going to call in at 5:30. So let's talk about the vexatious requester decision. So give me 1 second. Let me pull this up for you guys to see. I'm in San Diego, so I don't have my normal screens to do this. Makes it a little bit more challenging, but I will manage. Okay, so here's the decision. And so just as background, what happened is that Lieutenant Governor Henderson, and I think if you watch the show, you know my feelings on her. She actually asked the Government Records Office to declare Michael Clara, Natalie Clausen, Phil Lyman, and myself as vexatious requesters, and to enjoin us or bar us from making any more requests about the 2024 election cycle. And the reason why they did that is because she wants to destroy the signature petitions and all the records from 2024. But there are outstanding requests, and there's Michael Clara's lawsuit that's going on that some of the petitions are part of that. And then I think there's outstanding grandma requests asking for copies of those petitions. And my assumption is that they have not destroyed them, because when people make these requests, they actually tell them, they give them a legal reason why they can't produce them, but they don't ever say we don't have the records because we destroyed them. So kind of interesting. But so that's the effort that's going on here. And this vexatious requester law allows agencies to ask the Government Records Office to designate requesters as vexatious requesters and then ban you from making a request for up to a year. And it's supposed to be aimed at the worst of the worst. So if you look at this decision, though, the decision is great. And the way the process works is when the agency makes the request, then the Government Records Office will come out with its initial decision. In this case, the GRO said, we're denying the petition because you cannot combine multiple requesters to try to make to bring them to the vexatious threshold and try to designate them all as vexatious requesters. The lieutenant governor then gets an opportunity to respond, which she did. And then to that decision, the initial decision, and then we got a chance to also respond. And then they came out with their final decision. So now if the lieutenant governor's office disagrees with this decision, they can appeal it to the district court. I don't know if they will, because honestly, if they do, I think we would seek attorney's fees at that point. But let me take you through some of this so that you understand. Just as background, the four of us together had made a total of 54 requests over a 2-year period. So that's 26 requests a year. I had made 5, I think, total, and mine were all in 2026. Natalie Clausen, I think, had made 4. Michael Clara had not made any requests for over a year to the lieutenant governor's office. And then Phil had a few, but again, they were spaced out pretty far. Like there were some that happened in 2024, and then there were some in 2026. So the government records office actually went through the statute and analyzed the language and the legislative history, which is good. So first he said, in the government records office, the hearing officer is Lonnie Pearson. So again, if you listen to this show, Lonnie Pearson is a player. He used to be the Attorney General's office's government records person. And then he was elevated after the 2024 election to be the hearing officer at the government records office. So he says, although grandma's general definitions state that a person includes any combination acting in concert with one another, the specific structural requirements of Section 209, that's the vexatious requester statute, indicate that the legislature intended for a vexatious requester petition to target only one respondent at a time. This structure is designed to protect due process by requiring an individualized, fact-specific showing of conduct against each distinct respondent. So agencies can only make vexatious requester petitions against one person at a time. Then I had gone through and listened to the hearings on the vexatious requester statute, and the language that the various, like the sponsor was Senator Kurt Bramble. And he said this was aimed at the worst of the worst, people who make hundreds of requests a week. So not 54 over 2 years. So here, Lonnie Pearson says, the bill's Senate sponsor, Senator Kurt Bramble, repeatedly emphasized during committee and floor debates that the vexatious requester designation was designed as a rare, extraordinary remedy to address situations where one citizen, through weaponizing grandma, is able to dominate the entire agency. He contrasted this with the standard transparency by noting that the bill was intended for an individual who will use grandma incessantly without taking any purpose for the grandma request other than to simply submit literally hundreds of grandma requests. So again, hundreds with no purpose versus 54. He goes on to say, adopting the LGO, so the lieutenant governor's proposed collective interpretation, would also lead to absurd and dangerous results. I pointed these out in our brief. Extending Section 209 to cover a professional attorney-client relationship would allow agencies to penalize attorneys for representing clients, which would severely impinge upon the right to counsel. So in this case, they claim that when Natalie Clausen had me come as an attorney to represent her in one of these cases, that I was working in concert with her. And I was like, of course I was, because I'm the attorney. I'm an attorney. She's also an attorney, but we were working together as co-counsel in this case. So yeah, we were working together. That's what you're supposed to do. That doesn't make you a vexatious requester. Then they say, similarly, lumping citizens together because they appeared as witnesses at a public hearing or referenced each other's public social media posts would discourage civic participation and due process. The legislature did not intend to craft a statute that would be weaponized by state officers to penalize legal representation, public testimony, or the use of publicly shared research. So The lieutenant governor's office actually said if you show up at a hearing as a witness, or if you as a requester cite someone's social media post, that you could be considered working with them in coordination and both be labeled vexatious requesters. The government records office said no. Okay, then he says, this is where he talks about the volume. So he says, individually, the request volumes of Goud Maragani, 5 requests, and Natalie Clausen, 4 requests, are exceptionally low. So, like, not anywhere close to hundreds. Declaring citizens vexatious based solely on such modest numbers of requests would constitute an unauthorized and unprecedented restriction on the public's constitutional and statutory right of access. Okay, then finally he says, and I think this is really important, part of the way to protect yourself from this vexatious requester type of these attempts by the elected officials, or the agencies, I should say, is to make sure that you have a public purpose in the requests that you are making. So this is what the Government Records Office said. The record demonstrates that the respondent's request had an articulated public purpose, seeking transparency regarding the Lieutenant Governor's administration of candidate nomination petitions and signature verification in the 2024 primary election. The legitimacy and public interest of these requests are evidenced by the fact that they prompted multiple independent audits and eventual statutory reforms by the legislature. These requests cannot be characterized as having no obvious purpose other than to gum up government operations, nor can they be deemed an abuse of the right of access. This is called a spanking. So the Lieutenant Governor's office was trying to say there's no articulated public purpose in these requests. The Government Records Office, this guy Lonnie Pearson, who's been involved in this and actually was part of covering up what happened when he was at the Attorney General's office, is now saying wrong. They had a public articulated purpose. It was exposing your malfeasance in the 2024 primary election. So I thought this was beautiful. And really what this does overall is it makes the vexatious requester statute extremely difficult to use against regular everyday people. So what I say to all of you is, please go out there, make grammar requests, make sure that you don't use any language that's abusive toward the elected officials or these people, just keep it factual, and then get out. Sorry, my nephews are here. So keep it factual, and then just make sure that you have this articulated public purpose and bring transparency to Utah's government. That's the key to everything that we're doing here, is we need to bring maximum transparency to everything that is going on. So, okay, so that's that part. Anyway, I think it's a great decision, and I'm interested to see if they're going to try to, hold on. Give me 1 second. Can't get the stop sharing. All right, give me 1 second here. Okay. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm at my parents' house, and my nephews apparently want to keep bothering me. Okay, so let's go to the next issue. So let me pull this up. We'll turn now to what's going on in the Salt Lake County GOP. As I think many people know, there has been a lot of, for lack of a better word, drama going on in the Salt Lake County GOP. Let's just see before we move on. Creates for Joy one. So schools can't require them anymore either. Well, that's good if that's true. They can't require vaccines. Okay, I actually think Michael Clara is here. So why don't we bring him on, and then he can talk about what's going on. Let me share this. Hold on, Michael, just give me a second here. Okay, so here's the post. And I just want to add, I have not had a chance to talk to Mike Carey about this yet. So Mike Carey is the chairman of the Salt Lake County Republican Party. There is an effort to remove him from that position. Okay, if you understand the history here, he initially led, I would say, because it's not just him that did it. Him and the executive committee removed 8 people from the party, and they were removed for signing a letter. And you can, I disagree with the contents of the letter, but I get what happened. The letter basically said that if the party endorses people in municipal races, it is violating criminal law. They sent it to various cities. None of the cities actually prosecuted anybody, but that is why they were removed, for doing that. Then, and you can, by the way, I can see both sides of it. I'm sure everybody can. So they were removed. Then we had a meeting where we tried to bring them back. This was the county central committee meeting where precinct chairs get to vote. So we were unsuccessful. We lost the vote to bring them back by 1 vote. Okay, unfortunate that happened. And so there's still this division going on. After that meeting, Mike Carey and his leadership team removed their vice chair. And the vice chair was actually in an elected position. She is independently elected to that position, and they went ahead and removed her. And so now I think there's still kind of this angst, and maybe people are upset about it, and there's this movement to remove him from the party. So with that, let me bring on Michael Clara. Okay, let's see. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Just fine.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on today. Do you want to give people a quick 30 seconds about who you are and your involvement with the GOP?
Well, my name is Michael Clara. Right now, I serve on the SEC on the State Central Committee, and I was once I got elected to that position, I was also elected by the SEC members to be one of 5 people serving on the Audit Committee. And so, and I'm also elected by my neighbors as a precinct chair, which puts me on the County Central Committee. So that's my involvement today in the party. I've been involved in the party here for 30 years that I've been here in Salt Lake City, probably with the exception of the time that I served as a school board member in Salt Lake City, because that's a nonpartisan position. I kind of got away from the party for that time period. But other than that, I think I've served like as a Senate chair, a ledge chair, so I've been on the executive committee on the county level. I've been on the executive committee on the state level as a chair. We used to have a group called I think it was called the Hispanic Assembly. And so it was an auxiliary group to the party on the state level. And I was the chair of that for some time. So That's my involvement in the party.
Okay, got it. So I guess talk about maybe your post and what is going on here so people understand what this effort is about.
So the one I did today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have it up on the screen if you can see it. It's behind us.
Yeah. So I think I was just posting that the agenda came out. Well, one of the agendas came out. I guess there's been 2 of them with different locations and times. But I posted about the one that I got on email, that the agenda that on August 22nd, that one of the resolutions is to remove Mike Carey as the chair.
Okay. Maybe tell us about, were you surprised when you saw this on the agenda?
Yeah, because I didn't think the people that put it up there, my impression has been that I don't think you can get 2/3 vote to remove him. So why even try? And so when I knew that there were people working on it, but I thought, well, Mike Carey and they're not going to put it on the agenda. They'll come up with some excuse. So yeah, I definitely was surprised that the efforts to move on this issue are successful to this point by putting it on the agenda.
Okay. You also had multiple posts where you talked about how some of the kind of games that can be played or the pitfalls. Maybe Can you walk people through some of those issues so they understand maybe what to expect at the meeting?
Yeah, and let me say, I didn't plan on doing that. I did the post, and then I said, "Oh yeah, let me just tell you, it's my law enforcement background surfacing. When I was out on the street, you kind of understand the bad guys and what they're going to do. So, like when you do a traffic stop, you do it a certain way to stay safe, and you do it in a way that if they do pull a gun on you, you can react and hopefully, get them before they get you." So kind of that mentality, when I posted this, I said, oh yeah, let me just tell you this trick I think that they might come up with, because then I'm looking at the agenda and it's stuff that I've seen them do already. And it's stuff that I learned when I was on the school board, that when you're dealing with people that just have no moral compass in a bureaucratic sense, then you just start looking for these things that you've seen them do. So basically what I did, I think I called them tricks. And I think the number one trick that I put up here, I have to go back and look on.
I can put it up. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm looking too. Let's see.
There we go.
I think the first one is because they did this. I don't know if you were there. I think you were at your guard duty, so you weren't there training, so you weren't there. But earlier this year, they said, well, we can't do any business because the secretary didn't send out the notice 14 days before. And so it was like, that's just like sheer incompetence if that's what's going on. But then I noticed this one actually isn't 14 days in advance. If you're going to count a day as a 24-hour period, this is actually 13 days and probably 10 hours or something prior to the meeting. So I'm just telling people, inoculate yourself that trick number one is, oh, well, this meeting is not valid meeting and we can't do any business because the notice didn't go out 14 days before.
Okay. So that
hopefully by me calling them out on it, they're not going to do it. But if they do it, I'm just telling my naive Utahns, don't be surprised. Neighbors.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's a good. I remember that meeting. It turned into a training meeting or something, right?
Yeah. And then then a couple days later, oh no, it was a valid meeting after all.
I remember.
So it's just foolishness. It's just nonsense that and that people are offended by that. I'm just saying, don't be offended when you're dealing with people that don't have a moral compass and are ego driven and think they got to win at all costs. Just don't take them seriously, and don't be surprised when they pull these things on you.
Okay, so then you have trick number 2, and this is about a revision of the rules. I didn't.
Yeah, which is a weird concept that I think we need to be aware of. Like when I was on the school board, we would make policy by state law. The board would create policy and vote on it, and in a school district, a policy has the force of law. Just like in a city council passes ordinances; those are laws for the city. In the school board, you would have these policies that have the force of law in the district. But then the administration and they could make they call them procedures. They could change the procedures. They didn't need to have. And the procedures, they would say, well, that's how we carry out your policies. But then we never had any say on the procedures, and they can completely change how a policy is carried out. Same thing here. You have bylaws that are passed by the body and that go through, I would say, a rigorous process in this organization of the GOP to be passed. But then you have rules that I guess, I don't know where they come from, but they post them on the agenda, and luckily they do have to be accepted by the body. And in this case, the body is the Central Committee. So the Central Committee will have the opportunity to vote on these to accept them or not. And I just want to point out, number 8 is a quagmire. If we allow that to stand, that means with my reading of it is that you can pass a resolution, and they're going to say, well, it doesn't fit this and that, so it's null and void. So the people that I typically don't do motions and amendments and stuff, but the smart people in that body that do that, I'm just telling them, look at this and address it.
Okay, interesting. I kind of wonder if this is saying you'd almost have to take it. You would, let's say you pass the resolution, you'd have to do a second vote under whatever the bylaw is to do the removal. And you may, let's say you're successful. I don't know if this will be successful or not, but you
Right.
could lose people by the time you get to the second vote and then be unsuccessful. So the
Oh,
more
yeah.
the more obstacles you put in the way, the higher the likelihood of failure.
Right. But they can also, change these rules beforehand, which again, I think that should actually, I think I'm up to trick number 6 or 7. When we get off the phone, I'm going to put up 7 is to just drag the meeting on and to just, and this is part of the ploy, like you just pointed out, then people just get tired and they leave and then you end up without a quorum.
Yep, that's true. Okay, so trick number 3. Oh, you have the time issue. I saw this. I
Yeah.
actually went and checked, and you're right. This is the first. It was, I think. Well, I saw a post. Mike said that Midvale Middle School, they were notified that they can't do it there anymore, so it's been moved to, I think it's Butler Middle School,
Okay.
and the time was moved to 9 a.m. from 10 a.m. So, so here, I guess you're saying
Where'd you
that.
see that at?
It was a chat. Someone sent it in a chat.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
I'm blocked from, I can't see the page. Remember, like a few months ago, I got blocked when I was
Yeah.
a candidate for state school board. I can't remember what I did. I said something to hurt his ego, Carrie's ego, so he blocked me from Facebook and the web page. But see, if I look on AI, I can get if I when you Google it and say, hey, where's the meeting at for the Utah GOP, it tells you it's at Midville, and the agenda that I got said Butler. And then apparently it's only up on the webpage. Somebody said it's nothing on Facebook. And then, so it's just, I think that's part of the way that they're going to screw people over. And the weird thing is this Midville thing happens at I think, let's see, what does it say? 10 p.m.
10 a.m.
So if you show up at Midville at 10 p.m., because that's the first notification, that's where people think they should go, you're going to find out that the meeting actually started an hour before at Butler Middle School.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can, and I'm just putting it out there to say, hey, then let's get the word out now and make sure everybody knows that there's 2. It's kind of like that thing, who do I vote for? There's 2 Lymans on the ballot. It's so confusing.
Right, exactly. Let me see. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Butler Middle School and call to orders at 9 a.m. So yeah, so actually, I haven't gotten a postcard yet. I don't remember though. At least, but I'm in San Diego now, so just so we're clear.
No, there isn't there, and that takes us to trick number 4.
Oh, there we go. Okay, next one. Okay, talk us through this one.
I'm telling you, I didn't plan this. I just started thinking about it. I go, oh, so trick number 4, you send out. So up until this time, since I've been on the CCM, I got elected in March at my neighborhood caucus, and I've gotten postcards for the last 2 meetings. I didn't get a postcard for this one, and then there's a thing that I'm not. I guess there's a group me thing for precinct chairs, and I'm not allowed to be on. They didn't allow me to be on it, but people send me messages, and one of them last month, he's talking about Mike Carey saying that he sends out postcards for all the meetings. Yeah. And then I'm just saying, what's odd that the meeting that you're on the agenda to be removed, you don't send out postcards. So I don't know what's going on with that.
The only thing I'll say is I don't remember how soon before the meeting the postcards are show up in your mailbox, right? So I guess they could still come out because we're still 2 weeks out from this.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the official call is 14 days before, which is the email. And you're right about that. Hopefully, I hope they do come out because that'll clear up the confusion that's going on social media. In time.
Yeah, and on your point about the group me, Creates for Joy 1 says they sent it in an email. I started asking questions on the group me, and they have now shut that down as well as to any comments other than administration. Okay.
It's bizarre. I mean, yeah, that's how they operate. If you ask questions, it's like, no, we're done.
Yeah, right.
And that's why I didn't fight. I don't care if I'm on the group me or not because it's all controlled and, it's just manipulative.
Okay, so trick number 5. Oh, I remember trick number 5. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true. They did have at that last. Oh, and actually, Creates for Joy says, I'm a first-time precinct chair. Last CCM was the most frustrating thing I have ever been through. I'd like to hear more about that personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I found that to be, there was a lot of drama there. Hey, Mr. Producer.
I don't know if you saw my chat, but Steve Ace is on the phone. If you'd like to talk to him, because I believe he's the
Yeah.
sponsor of the. You want to talk?
Yeah, sure.
Hang
Pipe
on.
him to him.
Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. What you
Hey,
got?
Steve.
What you
Welcome to the
got?
show. What do you got?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you? Thank you. I unfortunately didn't hear a lot at the beginning of the show, but I've heard about the last 5 minutes. But yeah, I'm the sponsor of this bill pardon me, resolution, and as well as the one to reinstate Sarah Montez. And I have a lot to say about it. Where are you at in the discussion?
we were just going through. Michael Clara has gone through and documented potential tricks on ways that they will gum this up, and we were at trick number 5. Have you looked at his list of tricks?
Yeah, we've talked about them, and personally, I hope they do try that because for me, it's just more evidence of their trickery, deceit, and the way they handle things, and it just adds to the evidence of what and who this person is, and how he continues to deceive people, and that's why, in large part, this resolution was made. It's deception, it's authoritarianism, and it needs to stop. And quite honestly, we've made a very large effort to reach every single precinct chair. And I think that people are going to be a lot more educated on what's going down this time. You touched on the
Hey,
fact,
Steve.
Steve,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, I want to say, you mentioned that you guys made an effort to reach out to people. You actually called me. My full name is John Michael Clara, and you called me as John Clara. And then I said, you know what? I'm not going to tell him that it's me because we know each other. And then I kind of changed my voice and made it a little deeper. And I was kind of giving you a hard time just to see where you would go. But you did a good job. And had I not had a position on it, you convinced me to support your position. So good job on that and reaching out to the precinct chairs.
Well, thank you for that. And I've got to tell you that I have called, me personally, and there's several of us calling, but I have called personally the total of about 13 House districts worth of precinct chairs. Do the math on that. That's probably 250 people plus.
Wow.
Out of that,
awesome.
Out of that number, I've probably talked to maybe, let's call it 100 actual live people on the phone, and we're 80% to reinstate Sarah, at least. There is no question in my mind that she'll be reinstated. And I believe that we're very close on moving Mike Carey, to be honest with you. People are sick and tired. They're starting to see who this guy is, what he is, and what he's doing. And I don't think they're going to go into this one ignorant like the last one. I think they're going to actually be informed about what is happening. I wasn't so informed going into the last one, and was kind of blindsided, and chairs, they didn't have a clue. They don't have a clue about what's been going on.
Well, hey, Steve. So I do have a question about this. So we have a comment here from a first-time precinct chair, and he said that the last CCM was the most frustrating thing I have ever been through. What do you say to somebody like that in terms of the frustration?
I get a lot of that, and in the calls I make, and it's easily answered. at some point you have to look what the source of the frustration is, and they want to point the finger to the eight. Let's call it the hateful eight, and even Michael Clara to some degree, and now Sarah. But the real problem and the real frustration should be directed at Mike Carey, because he's done everything within his power to run down separate rabbit holes and not get to the issue that needs to be voted on. And I would say to that person, yeah, it's frustrating, but this is the single most important vote you will ever have at this next meeting, ever. For me, it's more important than electing Riley Owen, because we have a bad person running our county government. And when you have a cancer, you need to take that cancer and you need to cut it out right then. And it's our duty as precinct chairs to step up to the plate, not bury our head in the sand, but step up, learn the facts for yourself. And that's what I'm encouraging people to do. And then go to that meeting with purpose. It's frustrating when you don't know what's going on. And that's why we've tried to educate people.
Hey, Steve, educate us on, well, I'm not understanding how, I haven't talked to anybody about this. So, but when I saw the agenda, how do you envision this going on when you have on the agenda to fill the vacancy of the vice chair and there's 3 candidates running? What do you see and how do you envision this going down in terms of, taking care of things on the agenda? On this one, Goud, I don't think I put the whole agenda on there, but there's an election on there for vice chairs.
Well, yeah, there is an election on there for vice chair, but these resolutions are put on the agenda before that vote is for the new chair. So when Sarah gets reinstated, and I am absolutely confident she will, then she will become the vice chair, and that would make that vote null and void, because we do have a vice chair, and it is no longer vacated in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. And I'm wondering, Steve, there are the tricks that Michael has pointed out here are things that happened at the last meeting. Are you guys prepared to deal with that and kind of get ahead of it?
You bet we are. This is not a single person action. We have people that are actually on the ballot that will actually be presenting and arguing these resolutions from people. So, if you have people in the bylaws committee, they know these rules better than anyone, hopefully, right? And so, some of these people were told, and I'll let them divulge this, but they were told by Mike Carey personally that their heads were on the chopping block next. And so our plan is to have them present the resolutions, and we know they're going to fight back, but they're going to be armed with the proper responses based on the rules. Not that they actually, when I say they, Mike Carey and others care about the rules, because they consistently violate them and break them and twist them to their own devious means.
I'm on the chopping block, and I'm not even in your group.
Well, anybody that wants to be in our group is welcome to be in our group. And
I don't want to. You guys are trouble.
I will say, if you're gonna aim for the king, you can't miss, right? And so I do like Steve and Michael, both of you. Do you think if this fails, do you think there will be a much bigger effort to purge more people? So maybe you start purging all the precinct chairs who supported the effort, things like that. I just wonder where this goes next.
I don't think he has. Let me jump in. I don't think he can, because he's up for re-election in March. So even if this doesn't go through as these guys envision, he can't. I don't think he can do anything. In March, I don't see him getting re-elected for sure.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I've heard.
Oh, did we lose Steve, Mr. Producer?
on that?
Oh, that you said you started. You said something I had heard, and then you went silent. So what were you going to say?
Well, I think the more he tries to do, the more he's going to incriminate himself. If this doesn't pass, first of all, there will be far more people voting to dismiss him than not. It will be a majority. I understand that it needs to be 2/3 to oust him, but it's going to send a message either way. I can't tell you how many people are so frustrated with it, with this, and the ongoing infighting when he's had a chance to offer the olive branch, so to speak, and he hasn't done it because of ego, because it's, whatever the reason, you pick it. But the fact is, he's doing it. As far as releasing other people, I think he's already released people where he hasn't gone by the rules. He hasn't gone to the ethics committee. He hasn't gone through the proper protocol, so really has no regard for the bylaws at all. And when he needs to, he'll just twist them and interpret them the way that suits his agenda. So for me, I think he's just going to keep digging his own grave the more he does. That's what I think.
Hey, Goud, let me point out too, in my case, he, I guess 2 meetings ago, this is on the state level, in the executive committee, he discussed that he was going to get rid of me like he did the other 7. And then it was brought to his attention. And I can't remember now what the issue was with me. Because I had filed a complaint against the party on that indicia issue. And then he was already mad at me on some other things. And that's why I dropped out being a candidate for Shade School Board. But, he said, or it was pointed out to him, well, you can't get rid of Michael Clara like you did the others because he's on the audit committee of the SEC. And according to the state bylaws, a member of the audit committee can only be removed by a 2/3 vote of the SEC. And the agenda for that SEC meeting comes out, the meeting's August 29th. I guess the agenda comes out next week or the following week. So we'll find out if I'm on there. And there's a chance that I am on there. And what the state SEC is going to have to do is get 60% to get me off the audit committee first. And then that would leave me open for Mike Carey and the executive committee on the county level to do their thing. I don't think they'll be successful with that. And I think it'll just reduce their power to intimidate people even more. As Steve is pointing out, even if this vote doesn't go the way that Steve is envisioning, it still reduces his power. And we should point out that the whole idea that he had back in February to get rid of these 7 was to stop the division in the party. And opposite has happened. Had he just left it alone with these 7 for acts that they did in the fall of 2025, nobody would even be talking about it today. But he's the one that perpetuated it, and this whole thing is blown up in his face. And at the end of the day, to me, it doesn't even matter what the vote outcome is. The fact is, this is on the agenda, and we're talking about it, and they have to expend time on this. And it just shows that as a chair, we should be worried about getting people elected into office, as Republicans in Salt Lake County. But instead, we're having to devote our time, to this idiot and his nonsense that he keeps perpetuating in the party.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I actually do worry about that. We do have really good candidates running, especially at that county level where it's very difficult to win.
Yep.
I don't know. I have no idea what resources are being given to them. And actually, has anyone spoken to them about this intra-party or inter-party fighting, and is it impacting their races at all?
It impacted mine. I resigned as a.
That's actually a great point. Yeah.
They got somebody on the ballot because I was the nominee. So that allowed, when I resigned or withdrew my name because him, doing an ethics complaint on me and stuff, then because the party then had the right to put somebody else on the ballot, and they just voted on somebody. They had 2 candidates, I think, this last Thursday. I don't know who that is. Do you know? Do you know, Steve?
I have no
who the
idea.
new
No, I
person?
don't. It's on the website. You can pull it up and look on the website. It's there.
Well, I can't. I don't have access to the. I don't. That was part of the reason why I resigned or withdrew from the ballot, because as a candidate, I don't have access to the web page or the Facebook page, which is ridiculous. And at the time, they had cut me off from.
Now, wait a second. How did I don't even know how to cut somebody off from a web page? How do they even do that?
I don't know. They did it because I couldn't access the portal either. You know, for voters, but they restored that.
Interesting.
That's why it's just so important to get literally at the grassroots level and call every single person, email every single person, ask them to do their own due diligence. Don't take our word for it. You know, do the research yourself. I mean, the lies that are circulating, even by the executive committee, I've talked to several of them that still believe that these 8 individuals filed a lawsuit when that's not true at all. They filed a complaint with the Murray City Attorney General's or the Murray City Police Department. Yeah, they copied some other individuals. That's questionable whether they should have done that or not. But it's just been escalated from day one, and the rumors are not the facts, and people need to learn that. The executive committee members that I speak to, they don't even know the facts. And they're the ones that's supposedly going to get rid of these people.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they're voting from a place of ignorance, and they want, they're trusting their government when the government here in this case is just, got them hoodwinked for sure.
Well, wait, I would correct you on that or push back on that. It's not the government. The party, is a medium, I think, to how we participate with the government. And this is, a private organization that's supposed to be that we're supposed to be getting candidates, from the Republican Party. And then we're violating it, allowing Mike to violate, which I'm glad you're challenging him. One of the most basic rights that we have is to petition the government for redress of our grievances, which is through the courts or filing a complaint with the executive branch or going to the judicial branch or the legislature to get laws passed. And this is, what they're doing is penalizing people for doing that, which I appreciate, your efforts, to challenge that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about it being a private organization, but these are elected people, at least the leadership, and then the executive committee is appointed.
Right.
To not take, when it comes to actually removing longtime patriots from their positions within the party without having done any due diligence on what actually happened is beyond the pale for me.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's what they're taking the word that from Mike Carey and a few others that this is what actually happened when that's not the case at all.
Right.
And for me, it's not about the 8. I think a lot of people would have let this go had after that May 30th meeting, he stopped. But he really showed his cards when 2 days later, via Zoom call, he tells Sarah Montez she's no longer vice chair. That put a lot of us over the edge. I probably would have walked away from it had he not done that. But he really, really, really showed his cards. And I think most people are seeing that at this point.
Yeah, I think that was the mistake too. Had he just left it after that meeting and not removed Sarah, I actually think we wouldn't be talking about this.
Right.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that.
Yeah. We have a few comments. Let me read through these. I can see if you guys have any reactions to them. And we also have Kay is also going to come online, I guess. We've got a full house. So hold on. let's read through these and then we'll bring Kay up. But the first one is Creates for Joy. One says, my frustration is our progress is stopped by a petty chair who will take any path, including twisting the bylaws to get what he wants. He is just removing one person at a time that get in his way. And then he says, last CCM, he had a bylaw he wanted to pass that would remove someone who took him to court and lost to be removed from the party for 10 years. We did not have time to vote on this and others. And then he says, Mike Carey told the 8 to go to the police, so they did. This is actually, I think I've seen a text message about that. Yeah. And then he says, Sarah is a great woman.
Before you go on, that point about the at the last CCM, there was a proposal. I don't know if it was, I think it was a bylaw proposal to go after people, you know, that if you file a complaint or do something like that or a lawsuit, then you would be removed from the party. I don't think it was an issue of time. He just decided we're not going to do that because I think he realized he didn't have the votes. But what I'm hearing is that proposal has been resurrected on the state level, and that it's going to come up at the next SCC meeting, which I don't see that passing. I think that at the state central committee, if it's a bylaw issue, I think it has to have a 2/3 vote, and I don't see that going anywhere. But this is just, I think, how just the cognitive dissonance that he's dealing with, and the people that surround him are just creating an echo chamber that they just don't realize how foolish they look, and it's just, you know, if you can't get that passed on the county level, what on earth would make you think you could get it passed on the SCC level? But this is what we're dealing with.
Interesting. His final comment is, Sarah is a great woman. She should be chair. Huh? Okay. So it's like...
Well, I can answer that in totality. This is what we've been saying all along. You know, he has been disregarding the bylaws and interprets them the way he wants to interpret them for his benefit, not the party's. So one has to ask himself, why is Mike Carey doing what he's doing? What does he have to gain? What is his motivation for this? Now, I have my own personal opinions about that, and I will keep them to myself for now because I do not have factual information about that. But there's only a handful of things. He's either working with people to work their agenda on a higher level, or he's positioning himself for personal financial gain, which can be achieved in certain political positions in this state. I don't know. I truly don't. People are going to have to make their own judgment. But the facts remain that he is systematically moving people that dissent at all levels. And
but let me say, Steve, when you talk about systematically, one of the things that I see here is the failure of our system within the party, because we do have a checks and balance for the chair, and that would be the executive committee. And one of the things that I've been trying to preach to people is that we need to recognize 56% of the executive committee are the Senate chairs. And the Senate chairs are elected by the precinct chairs in their Senate district. And those elections are going to happen in November. And so I think, Steve, you're good at organizing this. Once we get over this hurdle, I would, put that on your radar that we need to organize to, run for Senate. I'll run for Senate chair in my area. And I think Mark, is it Britton? He's my Senate chair right now, and I'll run against him just for the fact of what he's done and not being the checks and balance to the chair and allowing him to get to the point where he's at.
Okay.
Did you get my email attachments? I just sent them.
Hey,
Just two.
okay, hold on. Hey, Kate. Hey, Steve, hold on for a second. Hey, Kay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're on the screen twice. I don't know why.
it's like a typical
Monday for me. Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. So I don't know how to get rid of the other one. I don't know what to do. Should I try and do something or just leave it there? What do you recommend?
Well, we'll just leave it because
Okay.
it's not messing up audio.
Okay.
Okay. I want to let Steve finish his thought.
Sure.
And then I want to hear your thoughts to open this up. So, okay, Steve,
Yeah.
go ahead. I apologize. You can finish your thought on that.
No problem. And hello, Kay. How are you?
Hi, my friend.
Yeah. So the second part to that question that I didn't get to, if things go as we plan, Sarah Montez may end up being chair that day. I mean, think about it. He's got to step off the dais when this issue with him comes forward, when the vote to remove him comes forward. After we reinstate Sarah Montez to vice chair, she will act as pro tem chair. And then, if we're successful in removing Mike Carey, which I admit is a long shot, then Sarah could potentially become chair.
Okay. Well, that's creates for joy. One, I believe that would answer your question. We just have a couple more comments before we get to Kate. We have, how is Sarah supposed to work with the dog squeeze if they get her reinstated? I think that there might be a typo in there. And then creates for joy one says right. Oh, I think he was just commenting that he understood your point. So I guess that is a good point. I mean, if Sarah's reinstated and Mike Carey is not removed, is that a workable relationship still?
It's no worse than where she was at before. I mean,
yeah, right. Fair point.
Yeah. I don't think that's an issue.
I think that, maybe if that is the case and that maybe he thinks he could just do it again, or Sarah can just simply resign. And I think that would make a pretty good statement, actually.
Okay.
But that's Sarah. She's going to have to answer that.
Yeah. Okay. Kay, why don't you tell us your kind of opening thoughts here?
Well, the first thing that's been hopping into my mind is because this the resolution rules that came out. So we've got the agenda. I mean, we're talking last minute. Like some people are saying they got it 2 minutes to midnight. It's why, But anyway, so then you go through, and one of the things that's part of the agenda that they've come up with these resolution rules. And it's like, why? First of all, who gives them authority to create resolution rules? But whatever. Anyway, they come up with these. But if you look at these resolution rules, it's really disconcerting, because it's like, are these rules to help us? Because they aren't helping us. What these rules are actually doing, it makes it impossible for members to participate, and it makes it, and to prevent the body from exerting its will. So all these rules are doing is taking away the ability for this is our meeting as precinct chairs. Now, obviously, I was reelected, by the way, but I've been banned for 4+ years. But all of these precinct chairs, this is their meeting. The chair thinks it's his meeting, but it's their meeting. And when you read some of these, that it's just okay. Number 4, consideration and debate on each resolution is limited to 10 minutes. The Central Committee can extend the time by a 2/3 vote. It's always been a majority vote. Now, why is it now a 2/3 vote?
Hey, Kay,
yeah.
Kay, let me say that on my list, that was trick number 2. I guess I'm not as worried about it as you are, because these can be rejected by the body
Right.
from before we even start the meeting. Once the meeting starts, before we start voting, the body will have the opportunity to accept these rules, and,
Right.
and that's why I pointed them out today, because there's people smarter than me. I don't plan on going up to the mic and doing anything or saying anything, but I think that this, what you're saying, I think it'll get corrected. I don't think
hope so too. I hope you're right. And I absolutely agree with you. We have to inform and educate the precinct chairs to let them know that these special rules for the resolutions, they're not there to help you. They're there to take away your authority. So
we can reject it.
we can, and we have to. So we have to actually, at the very beginning, when they say, are we going to adopt the rules for the resolution rules? The answer is a hearty no, we will not. And
So
because
is this part of would this be part of the adoption of the agenda then? And so we'd have to amend it before you actually adopt it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
I think that is on the agenda. That it's literally an item. Go ahead, Steve. Was Steve saying something on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more things that they do like this is just more and more proof of who this individual is and what they're trying to do. They're trying to take power away from the grassroots and centralize it. This is what authoritarian governments do. It's simply our biggest task is to continue to inform precinct chairs all the way up to August 22nd. And if we can do that, if we can be successful at that, and we welcome more and more people, then we will win.
Right.
If we go into it ignorant, we will not win it.
But that's the thing. That's my point in making these trick things so that we're not pearl clutching or wringing our hands over these things. These are things that we can address. And I'm looking at the agenda right now. After the opening, we call them opening exercises, you have initial credentials report. And then the next item is adoption of the rules for the vice chair special election and adoption of the rules for the resolutions. And so at that point, I think that's when we address it. But again, that's going to be trick number 7 after I get off the phone. Part of it is to just drag this on, and we may spend an hour on that and upset people. But, we can't accept the rules the way they're written anyways.
No, right. And here's the thing, you guys. I like have this picture in my mind of the nefarious people sitting around a table. What can we do? What can we do to stop the body from being heard? What can we do to stop this? It's like, just a minute here. Who's in charge? And it just really bothers me because I picture them sitting around a room. Hey, let's change the venue. Yeah, let's do that. Hey, let's change the registration time or the meeting start time. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Hey, let's throw in some special resolution rules, and then we're going to take everything away from them. Even if they pass it, then we're going to try and do something that's going to say that they can't amend, suspend, supersede, or authorize action. And then the other things, it's like, why are they doing this? What in the world, you guys, is going through their minds that they want to take away the power of this body and to concentrate it? It's just like Steve said. Is it authoritative dictatorship where the body has no power whatsoever? I think they would love that. But you know what? They think and they've actually come out and said this, that the precinct chairs are stupid. Well, guess what? I don't think they're that stupid. I think that the precinct chairs are uninformed, but we're working to inform them.
They're ignorant, but they're not stupid. They're ignorant,
exactly.
but not stupid.
That's right. They are not.
It makes sense, right? Because you're busy, you're doing other things.
Exactly. And so we don't blame them. We just need to inform them, because I'm telling you right now, Goud, if they knew what we know, this would be a slam dunk, because this just goes on, and just, you're peeling the layers of it. And it's like, oh my goodness, now what's next? And it's like, everybody's like, well, let's just let this table this until the next election. Really? And see how many others can be affected? See how much other, damage can be done? I mean, are we going to just watch the carnage and then get it to the point where we can't recover it, and where next time nobody will be a precinct chair? I mean, we're already struggling, So again, I have to get back to just the fact that our precinct chairs need to say, and by the way, I sent you over a couple of things. I'm furious about Sarah. Okay, because she worked her butt off. I mean, I sent her flyer. I don't know if you guys have read her flyer.
I can't pull up anything else because there's four of us on here. But let me. There actually, you kind of are hitting on a point here. I do see this as two distinct issues, right? The Sarah Montez reinstatement. That one strikes me, and I'm interested if you guys disagree, but that one strikes me as much less controversial. Like that, she was elected to that position independently of anybody else, and then she was removed from it, which to me is canceling an election. And it's not for anything that would strike me as, it's not like she was like stealing party money. This was just she doesn't agree with our leadership style, and so I see that as being a much higher chance of success than the removal of Mike Carey. Do you guys see that differently?
Yeah, but let me say before we get to that, what's more, what could be successful or not. I'm a lot more optimistic about this than Kay, than what you're expressing, because I think the issues that were, first of all the work that you guys have put into this, I think has been very successful. Where I could just, you can tick them off, I can tick them off, what their tricks are, and we have remedies for them. So I'm not, and why they're doing it is not my concern, as to the fact that I'm aware of it. When I was a cop on the street, you pull a gun on me, I'm not worried about why you're doing it. I'm just happy that I recognized it and I saw it, and I have the ability to react and to take care of it. And so same thing here. I think, I'm kind of challenging you to be a lot more optimistic about this, because I think you guys have the upper hand on this. We all are aware of what they're doing. We don't need to know why. We're aware of it, and we can address each of these issues. And I think you guys are going into this meeting with the upper hand.
Well, I appreciate that, and I do agree with you on some of it, but here's the problem. We still have those chairs that don't know what we know. And so that's why on any listeners that are listening here, I just want to give you a couple of quotes, okay? So this is what Carey said. He said, removing Sarah was prompted by several instances where she broke with party leadership on key decisions. And Sarah said, just because I see a problem with what you're doing, it doesn't mean I'm on the other side. And then he said, when you are an elected officer, you have a duty and responsibility to respect the decision of the body, whether you agree or not. Now, my first question is, who does he think the body is? Is he the body? Does he thinks he's the body? He says she has a duty and responsibility to respect. And he said this in a couple of places, that she has to show respect. Now, Sarah is not a disrespectful person, and she was never siding with the 8, just so everybody is clear on that. Sarah was siding with the rules, okay? She knows the rules, and she said they're not following the rules. We shouldn't be doing this. This is a concern. So that is interpreted, and she said, I won't participate in that trial because they are not following the rules. Well, if you don't go along with what he says, you have, so let's say he said, hey, we're going to go and tar and feather these folks. Okay, I don't like them. I don't like them at all. We're going to go tar and feather them. And if she says, I don't think we should do that, I disagree with that. But he's got himself and Carl and Emily saying, oh, no, we're going to go tar and feather him. And she says, I'm not going to do it. And the executive committee says, oh, we're on board too. Let's go tar and feather him. If she says no, then that means that she is breaking her duties. She does not have a duty and responsibility to respect everything they do if it's against the rules. There's
no elected official that has to go along. City council, legislature, even the Supreme Court can make a decision, and then you have a dissent. So I think that we need to just recognize he's just creating rules that they're artificial. They don't have any bearing. It doesn't work in any other public body, even though this is a private organization. I don't think we need to, I guess, get too complicated about it. It's just, it doesn't work. He can't require her, to think like he thinks. And in fact, it's healthy to have a chair and a vice chair that do think differently. And we're addressing the fact it's number one on Steve's resolution. That he legally got rid of her, and you're pointing out one of the reasons why.
Number one, if you look up the duties of the vice chair listed at the very top is to advise the chair. That doesn't mean agree with what the chair is doing. That means
Correct.
to give him good advice. And when they are breaking the bylaws consistently over and over again, and they're conducting these trials without due process, it's her obligation to point out that he is breaking the rules. For her to be his yes man, so to speak, she would be derelict in her duties. He has an absolute obligation to do exactly what she did. Period.
Correct.
Yeah, you know, and like I said earlier, I think she is independently elected. Like she ran for the vice chair position. People voted for her for that position. It's not like they're linked, so you're voting for the vice chair and the chair. And that to me means you are an independent elected person. You have independence because that's what people voted for you to do.
Well, in contrast, I guess, Goud, just to give perspective, a governor and a lieutenant governor, you know, they're the president and the vice president are a ticket. These guys are not a ticket.
Right.
You know, they're independently elected.
Exactly.
Well, and the rule that they use, this just shows you guys, it says in there, they're trying to quote a little provision that says she's incapable or unwilling to perform her duties. Okay, now if you look at incapable is, you know, that is means that, you know, we all know what that means, that somebody that maybe they've had a stroke, maybe they've had something happen. I mean, you know, this incapable.
They're like Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, exactly. Like Mitch McConnell. Incapable. For them to use that and to say that she was incapable or unwilling shows you the lengths that they'll go to manipulate and twist a bylaw. And
Yeah,
that
okay.
just
Hold on. Steve, you have something?
I just said like it's exactly like Joe Biden, not just Mr. McConnell, Joe Biden as well. You know?
There you go. Yeah.
And they don't. So.
Okay, I have a few comments here. Let me read these, and then you guys, if you guys have reactions. So Creates for Joy 1 says, this has also filtered down to the legislative chairs and district chairs. My district chair won't even email me anymore because I wanted a list of our district precinct chairs so I could communicate. Shouldn't you be able to get that list?
Yeah, but the legislative chairs are appointed by the chair, by Carrie.
But isn't the list of precinct chairs public?
Yep. No, I don't think they're public, but they should be able to get, you know, the voters in their area by going to the portal. This is a precinct chair.
Yeah, he's a precinct chair.
Be able to just look them up on the portal, because when they were elected on caucus night, they had access to the portal to put in who won and everything. But at that point, they should just be able to look at that, you know, look it up themselves.
You would think so. You would think so, you guys. But I'm telling you, when I'm talking to precinct chairs and they are like, I can't get into anything. I've tried to email. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing. You want to talk about a dereliction of duty, being able to have a website that works for people so that they can do their job and their duties. That has not been easy to do. So, you know, it's been an ongoing issue. So I will say that. I would continue, if I was that person, to email the secretary at SLCO GOP and ask for a list of the precinct chairs. I would do that. See what happens.
All right. He says, I had the list of my precinct and they have taken it away. All right. So there might be something. This might be what you guys are talking about. They're removing access. Mm-hmm. He also said, if we are going to use Robert's rules to run the meeting, they need to train us new people so we can participate. I have requested that training several times to no avail. That's a fair point. I find, like, I'm a lawyer and I find the Robert's rules stuff to just be a little bit, I find it to not be clear what the rules are. And then it just seems like there's enough gray area that they can be manipulated to do whatever you want, really.
Well, we do have, we have scheduled a couple of Robert's Rules of Order trainings. I'm sorry about that. But I would say that if somebody is interested, Goud, I don't know if I can provide them with any information about my contact information. Please reach out. My email is just my first and last name. So it's KAYE Sanderson at Comcast.net. We will be scheduling a Robert's Rules of Order training later on this month, and we want to have them regularly. If we get 20 people, we can get them for about $15 a person, a 3-hour class, money well spent, just so that you know when you go to those meetings, when you can rise for a point of order, what does it mean when they're, making a motion, those types of things, because then you're not sitting there just, your head turning around and you're saying, what is going on? So it's so important. And it's actually, I think, very interesting. I think it's very interesting. And especially when we read them and we go, well, that wasn't followed, and that wasn't followed, and that wasn't followed. But, it gets you some, we know that knowledge is power. So please do reach out. Knowledge is power. We would love to have you attend a parliamentary training.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you made the comment. Then we've got Mars Gate says, this attitude went straight over to county chairs. I heard it in a county meeting. This must be about vice chairs having to support whatever the chair wants. And so that's interesting because I think Mars Gate is out in the Uinta Basin somewhere. So Mr. Producer says, people are easily bamboozled. Yes, knowledge is power. So,
and the book,
amen.
Robert's Rules of Order. You can order the book yourself and before you take the class.
There you go.
Yeah, mine's on my nightstand. Mine's right on my nightstand. 12th edition revised is the one that they're using in the party. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to just interject there a little bit, Goud, if that's okay.
Yes, let's hear it.
It's a huge ask. It's a huge ask to get people to read that book. Okay, I applaud them if they do, and I hope they at least familiarize themselves with it. Take the class, and because it's a big book. There's so many rules and so many contradictions that I can tell. We will have won the game if we can at least just get the people educated on what is happening at the next upcoming meeting, this particular one, because and hopefully that will carry through to other meetings. Hopefully this debacle that's been going on will awaken people to the fact that they're being lied to, and that the ignorance, that leadership wants to keep them in an ignorant place because that's where they can do their damage. And so I think that they've overplayed their hand here in this case. When they removed Sarah, they way overplayed their hand. And it has got so many people that would not otherwise rise up, and they will be there, and they will be there in force, is my prediction. And I can tell you, I've called so many people, and they are, you can tell that Kay and I and Michael speak passionately about this because it strikes home with us. It reaches our heart and our passion and our patriotism, and they've gone too far, and it's striking that chord with all the people that we're talking. I mean, virtually all. There are so few that are against what we're doing that it's hardly mentionable. I mean, 80 to 90% that we talk to want to reinstate Sarah.
Well, and I've had so many
notable.
tell me. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Goud. I was just going to say I had so many tell me, and somebody brought this up earlier that they said, "Well, the 8 filed a lawsuit." What in that is not true. They are being lied to. But Mike went right around the room of the executive committee meeting when I was a member, when he was going to remove me, and he pointed to each one of them and told them, "Kay wants to throw you in jail. She wants to throw you in jail. She's going to go after your family. She's going to." I mean. That is such a violation of Robert's rules, but they were lied to their face by the chair. And so, of course, they were like, well, off with her head, and that's where people just think that they can believe. And this is where we have to say, okay, let's look at the facts, folks. Let's look at the facts. And we do have that website, guardianpost.org. guardianpost.org. Sarah has a beautiful flyer that tells you all of her accomplishments, that tells you everything she's done, money she's raised, candidates she's supported. And then she also said she has had grave concerns about what was happening. Please go to that, and up at the top right corner is Sarah's flyer. And do yourself a favor and read that, because again, like your producer said, knowledge is power, and we need everybody. Join us. Join us.
Okay, I have some logistics questions here.
Okay.
So how many precinct chairs are there total?
666. You heard. How do you like that number?
Well,
I know it's like a horrible number. How many do you think will show up to the meeting?
Chairs, Goud.
Say
I
it
think
again,
that
Steve.
number includes, I say that yes, 666 was the number that was given. A lot of those seats are not actually filled. But then you start adding in the Senate district chairs, the House district chairs, the region chairs,
Yes.
and all of that. The
And
number
elected officials.
650.
Mhm.
And all the elected officials have a vote in central committee meetings. So, in answer to your other question, the last meeting had just over 300. By the time that vote came, I think it was like 330, but by the time the vote came, there was only 250 one time. So people left. People got fed up with it and they left. And I think they're counting on less people coming to this one. But I think there's going to be more people because they're fired up and they want to vote on these two issues.
Okay.
Hey, could you have your producer click on that? He's got that page up. Can he click on that Sarah Monte's tab at the top right?
Yeah, I just messaged him about it. Yeah,
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Producer, at the top you see it says guard. Yeah, click on that. That's what she was saying. Okay, so here's my next question. Again, logistics. Let's say there's a precinct chair who cannot go for a reason and wants to have someone fill in. What should they be doing to make that happen?
Okay, there is on that.
Go to they can go to the GOP website, and there's a form to fill out for a substitute. The person has to be ideally the vice chair or someone else that was elected at caucus night. But if none of those people are available, it can be someone within your precinct.
Now, Goud, let me tell everybody where that is exactly, because it's hard to find. But if you go to the agenda, the recently posted agenda, there is a link that said there's a substitute form. So go to the agenda in the Salt Lake County GOP, click on that meeting, and then click on that form. It can be, I've heard it can be the vice chair, it can be a county delegate, and Steve's probably right, it might be others, but you'd want to really try and have it be the vice chair, the county delegate, or another delegate. And then those requests go to secretary at slcogop.com. I would suggest that if you do that, that you follow up and make sure that that person has been put in as your alternate. You don't want them to show up to get credentialed and be denied. So you send it in and make sure it gets through.
Okay, next question. What is quorum at the meeting? How many people do we have to have?
It's 20% of the body.
I think it's 139. But then after the meeting, anybody that is there constitutes a quorum. So it gets down to the fine print and, but yeah, I think that they need to have at least 139 people there from what I understand.
Okay. When you're making phone calls, are you seeing any geographic differences in terms of support? I will just note this at the last meeting when we tried to bring the 7 or 8 back. I just noticed that my section of the county, the southwest part, was very weak on the bringing people back. So,
well, that sucks because I live in the southwest corner, so that's not good.
I looked at that section because I was sitting in front of it and it was bad. It was really bad.
Wow.
I can answer that question with some certainty, Goud, because I've called people in over 12 House districts.
Okay.
All the people in 12 House districts. spanning from the East Bench to downtown to up Immigration Canyon to Kearns to out in Riverton area and Draper, etc. And I did notice that the more moderate people, which I would consider more the downtown area in general and the east side area in general, are more likely to be in favor of what we're doing. That's not to say out there are out in the west side are not in favor of it as well, but it's almost 100% hit rate in the downtown East Bench area.
I'm surprised.
Okay, that's surprising. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, that's really interesting.
Hey, Steve, let me ask you, where are we at with elected officials? Because I'm looking at our bylaw. It says all elected Republican county officials and state legislators representing the county are part of this CCM, but I don't see a lot of elected officials there. Any effort to try to reach out to them to get them involved in this meeting coming up?
I'm going to have no. I mean, it's all we can do to reach precinct chairs. I think that these elected officials in general, and I'm generalizing, would be more likely to side with Mike Carey. Take that for what, that's my opinion, okay? We are few in numbers, but it's growing. But to call over 600 people and recall them to finally get them live on the phone is a Herculean effort. So, in direct answer to your question, no, I don't think they would be as receptive, quite honestly.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Right,
Are
and
you
also
guys-
trying to reach them is harder, and trying to get them on the phone is harder. And another thing that is, hard about that, or that's concerning about that, is that they can probably send a proxy, and so we have to keep that in mind. This is why we need everybody on board, because we want to have. It has to be too big to rig. It has to be too big to rig. Everybody, this chair is doing everything he can to muzzle the CCM. He wants to muzzle you. He wants to take away your authority. He's trying to find ways of saying, no, you don't have the authority. I have the authority. And that is not correct, folks. We are the ones that can cut this cancer out. And I love that analogy because it is, and it's growing, and it's metastasizing. When people say we need unity and we need to focus on our candidates, we will. Let's get rid of this guy so we can focus on what's important about getting our candidates elected. If we're still wondering about who's he going to axe next, that it's and half the body can't stand it, and the other half is just, we need to, this would be a unifier, in my opinion. In my opinion, it would unify the party.
Okay. Okay. So, are you guys? I guess the next question is, I don't know if there's any other, maybe do you have closing thoughts for people to consider as we, on the segment and as we kind of head into or closer to August 22nd?
My closing thought would be, go ahead, Steve.
May I start?
Sure.
Go ahead, Steve.
My closing thought is the people that we've talked to have been very receptive. They have committed to coming almost to a person that we've talked to. Okay. When the day comes, realize how important this is and actually show up and vote your conscience. And if you look at the fact, the conscience part of that should be easy. Okay? It's quite clear what is going on. And so come, show up, stick it out, vote your conscience.
Well, and Steve will be there, and he's the guy with the white hair, the tall guy with the white hair. So, look for him. But my closing comment would just be the most important thing that we can do is when they bring up whether or not we're going to adopt the special rules for resolutions, the answer is no. No, we will not. I mean, you guys, this is the most important thing, because anything else, we can be successful. We can have them removed. We can have Sarah restored, and then they can turn around and try and pull that rug out from under us. And they will try. So we can just say no for this. We're not going to adopt the special rules for resolutions. End of story. This body has spoken.
Okay. Michael, closing thoughts?
Well, I'm very optimistic. I just want to commend Steve and Kay and your group, for the work you guys have been doing. And I just think you need to be a lot more optimistic than you are. I don't see that. You're dealing with idiots. So they're not going to pull the rug out from under you. And so we know what they're going to do because we've seen them do it in the past, and we're prepared for that. And I think that, we're going in with the upper hand on this thing, and I believe we'll be successful. You may not get the votes or the outcome that you're looking for, but I believe you're really going to be successful in terms of changing at the very least, the whole structure of our party and the way we think on the county level, and the atmosphere and the landscape of it, I think is changing for the better. So thank you for your work on that.
Thank you for your work, Michael.
Okay.
Well,
now, okay, a couple things. Just another thing. Are there any ways that people can help if they are supportive of the effort?
Absolutely. Again, if you want to reach out to me at just Kay Sanderson, Kaye Sanderson at Comcast.net. We need volunteers. Do this for your kids. Do this for your grandkids to show them that you're not going to just sit back, because, I've heard a saying and it really hits home, and it says tolerance and apathy are the signs of a dying nation. So are we going to be tolerant and apathetical and just let this party die? Or are we going to stand up like our forefathers did? I watched a beautiful thing on PBS, which I don't normally, promote, but it's called The American Revolution. And to know that the people that absolutely gave everything, and yet we have people that don't want to give up their Saturday, or they miss out on a lunch. You know what? This is the most important vote that you will ever take as a precinct chair for our party and for your precincts. So please help us. Send me a message. We need volunteers.
Okay, and then where can people go for the latest updates for each of you? This is your chance to share your social media, that kind of stuff.
This is
Mine is my X account or my Facebook at Michael Clara on either Facebook or on X. And then to Steve and Kay, you should have donuts there. You'll get my vote if you have like a table there with donuts or refreshments.
We'll have donuts, but you know what we're going to have that's even better? We're going to have beautiful Sarah Montes. She wants to shake the hand of every precinct chair. She wants to, and I think that's a beautiful gesture. I do,
Food,
she loves you guys and she's working for you. So
I will say food is very effective. I lost a student council race once because my opponent gave everyone candy bars. My mother was very
I'll
upset.
bring some stuff. Okay, you guys set tables up.
We'll do it. And I would just say that guardianpost.org is a good one. Precinct chair. Let's see, what is it? Precinct chair. I can't think of it now. But just reach out to me and I can send you information on how you can reach out to us. And again, thank you so much for being a precinct chair. People think, oh, I didn't really want to do it, and nobody wanted to do it, and I just got appointed. But you don't realize you can make a difference. This is super important, and this is people are counting on you. So we need you. Thank you again for stepping up.
Okay, great, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll take it from here, and I'll try to let's have someone come back on maybe next week for an update, just as we head into the meeting. So I'll be in touch.
Put me on with Mike Carey. I want to come on with Mike Carey.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I have to talk to Mike, so I will talk to Mike, see if I can get him on.
Just tell him not to be using any F-bombs or anything like that. But help us both on.
I don't think he can help himself.
All right, great.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Cheerio.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Well, I hope that's helpful for everyone. Anyway, the meeting is, let me just see here. Yes, August 22nd, Butler Middle School at, I think it's actually the call to order is 9 a.m. So you can start registering at 8 a.m. Meeting will start at 9 a.m. So you want to try to get there between 8 and 9 so you can get your credentials and get into the meeting. I had a question for Mr. Producer and it just slipped my mind. So that's kind of weird. Anyway, I hope that's helpful to everyone. And like I said, I think Michael Clara has actually been a really good source in terms of following somebody that can help. Mr. Producer, do we want to put the call-in number if people want to call? We have a few minutes. I don't know if
yeah, I took that off because it was covering things up. So let me put it back up for you. Okay.
Okay.
And
let me just pull up
with all four of you on there. This was a great discussion, and so. My suggestion is I'm going to talk to Steve and see if he'd like to send this out to all of the delegates as a link. This podcast. Okay. So
okay.
Second, let's.
I'm gonna get in trouble or something.
In trouble. I suppose he could get in trouble with Mike Carey. I don't know.
I know. I'll probably get removed. But my whole thing is, I didn't actually want to be the precinct chair this time around. I said no, and my neighbors actually just went ahead and elected me anyway. So here I am.
Okay, your number is up, and if anybody calls in, I'll drop them in. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if anybody wants to call in. I'd love to hear what you think about this. It's 435-900-8595. And we have a few minutes left. While we're doing that, I was going to pull this up. It's saying that I'm having performance issues. Performance off. Let me try it. Okay. My screen share is not working. Oh, here we go. I got it. Tell me if that works.
It's running a little slow. I think it's your stuff in San Diego.
Like my parents' internet, maybe.
Could be.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. Okay. So I was just going to say, and I think here, Michael Clare has given a lot of kind of clues and information, like potential pitfalls and tricks that they'll try. So you do have to keep these in mind. I think that the people that will be the kind of front people for this I think will be prepared. Actually, in the last meeting where they tried to reinstate the people, the individuals who were kind of the head of it, right? They had clearly gamed this out beforehand, and they had the arguments ready, and they were up at the mic. So I would expect them to do that again, and they know exactly what will happen since it's already happened. We do have a few more comments here. This is back on that issue of Robert's Rules. Creates for Joy 1 says, I have it and took one class. He has Robert's Rules, but confused by the parliamentarian. He asked who taught it. I would shoot Kay an email to find out who's teaching the class. He said Kay and Steve know their stuff. Holiday's mayor was totally for Mike. Well, I mean, there's lots of people. I'm friends with Mike. I do think some of this, what's been going on with the party, I don't like, because I don't really think people should be removed from it. I think this has been a distraction from trying to win races. And I think we have really good countywide candidates this cycle. Like, I like Kathleen Anderson. I like Davis. Is it Clint Davis? Why is his name slipping my mind? The guy running for district attorney, and then also Shane Manwaring running for sheriff. They're good candidates. They need support, though, to be able to win, because I think we're basically a Democrat county. And that's where our focus should be. And I do feel like a lot of this stuff has been distracting from that. So again, Saturday, August 22nd is going to be the meeting, 9 a.m. call to order, and it's at Butler Middle School. And I'll have them back again next week. I had some others. Let me see what else I have here. Oh, this is a good one. So I got news from a friend of mine, and it looks like I just froze. Oh, I'm unfrozen. Okay. So someone called me last week to tell me that they went to Amy Winder Newton and said, I heard why did you get fired by the governor from your job as a director of families for the state? She said, it is because of me that my quote unquote attacks against her on social media made it so that the governor they decided she needed to take a break from public life. And so I just want to say, you are welcome, Utah. Like, I consider this an accomplishment. If that's her claim, I'm taking it as truth. There have been no attacks. I just exposed that she's a big fraud, and I guess she's upset about it. And you're welcome, because one witch down. We just got a few more to go. But here, let me show you some highlights from Amy Winder Newton. Here's one. These are the things she doesn't want you to know. So, for example, here is this one? Oh yeah, here. You have to remember that Amy Winder Newton helped Equality Utah raise $45,000, and Equality Utah is a left-wing LGBTQ plus group that pushes the trans agenda. She helped them raise $45,000 so they could defeat conservative Republicans. That's one of her very notable accomplishments. Number 2 is this one. This actually looks like I might have repeated. Oh no, it's different. Okay, hold on. Here's this one. Oh, here's Amy celebrating Pride. Here, I'm trying to get this up. Get out of here. I'm on the show. Get out, please. Oh, anyway, so this is Amy. You're not going to show up, Ishan. Oh, okay. That's my nephew. So, okay. So here's Amy celebrating Pride. She has a Pride Lego set that she puts out every single year with her husband. And the last time she posted about it was 22. She stopped posting about that when she got exposed for being a big old leftist. And here's the final. This one is my favorite. This one is the one where she actually went after conservative gays on behalf of Equality Utah. So let me see if I can pull this up. Having a little bit of, okay. So in 23, she and 16, I was told there was 17 total elected Republicans in Utah targeted the Utah Log Cabin Republicans and got us shut down. So, this woman is a peach, and, good riddance. Good riddance. Goodbye, Amy. Enjoy your time in Taylorsville. We don't want you in public office anymore. You are trash. And Mars Gate says, good job, God. Thank you. I am very proud of my accomplishment. I believe I have done more for Utah than anybody else right now. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to. But, I think this is a positive. And I guarantee you, she's not going to be in that position, and she's not on the county council starting in January, but she will be in some sort of role sucking off the taxpayer, because that's what all these people do. Her brother did the same thing. He had that whole scandal where he was writing fake op-eds to glaze himself. I just learned that glaze from one of my nephews. So she was like, he was glazing himself with these op-eds, and then when the controversy broke, he resigned, and now he's the city manager, making like $300,000 of one of the cities up in the northern part of the county. So I'm sure she'll be doing something similar. But I did want to celebrate that we have gotten rid of Amy. Okay, and then the other thing I want to talk about is, I thought this was interesting, but I believe the Save America Act, Save America, I think it's dead. So this is kind of unfortunate, because I will say from the beginning, it was my view that this is failure theater, and that they all knew the outcome ahead of time, but they were just kind of putting this show on for us, knowing what the ultimate outcome would be. I will say, I don't feel like it was totally that. Just because it does seem like Mike Lee was trying really hard, and he did get some of these senators to actually join him in their efforts to shut down the recess. But I do think he needs to answer this question. He had promised, I think it was last night, I think the Senate went on recess. They never passed the Save America Act. I think it's dead. It's not going to happen. And what he was advocating for is that when you filibuster, you actually have to get up there and talk in order to do the filibuster. That way, when you're done talking and you can't talk anymore, we vote on the bill. And I think he's right that that's how the filibuster is actually supposed to work. So what the problem is, there is video out there of them, of Senator Thune, who, by the way, is a total disaster. But if you notice, they're not trying to get him out of that position. Then you've got Mitch McConnell isn't even showing up to work, right? I think he's dead in some form, whether it's brain dead or something else. And what should give away the game is that there are no Republicans who have gone to his house to visit him. The president hasn't gone. The vice president hasn't gone. None of the senators have gone to visit him. Nobody. We hear nothing. And that means that I think they all know that he's dead in some form, and they're not going to expose it because they support what he's doing. It's disgusting, and it shows you this is all a game. Well, anyway, so yesterday they voted to go on recess, but it was a voice vote. And so you'll hear them do the vote, and you'll hear a bunch of people object, but then whoever is presiding over the Senate just says, okay, the yeas have it. This person points out that Mike Lee actually promised to have a recorded vote, which means that we would know how each senator voted on going on recess, and that's not what we got. Now, I think there's probably some issue. There's probably an explanation here about the rules, how they work and stuff like that. So I would like to hear from Mike Lee about what exactly happened. Why didn't he get that recorded vote? Because I think we should have that. Because if you're a senator doing that, maybe we don't want you in office anymore. And I'll just add that while they are on this recess, they're doing pro forma sessions every few days to make it seem like they're actually in session. And all the senators that are participating in that should not be reelected into office. They're anti-Trumpers. And the reason they're doing that is to prevent Trump from being able to do recess appointments. These people still haven't confirmed everybody he's put up for appointments. I mean, that's how pathetic this is at this point. So anyway, unfortunately, I think the Save America Act is dead. It's a very sad situation. Okay, so we have 3 minutes left. I'll just show you this because I thought this was really interesting. The Utah Taxpayers Association put out a chart showing city expenditures per person for each, I think, of the 50 biggest cities in Utah. And okay, first of all, those of you guys living in Salt Lake City, your city is spending a lot of money per person. Now, I think that their tax base is different because there's more commercial property in Salt Lake City than maybe you see in other places, I suspect. But they're spending $2,223 per person is what this. That's crazy because the next one is 1,000 something, so they're way above everybody else. I did notice, and Andy Perucci pointed this out, but Riverton is at 740, so it's just under the median of 772. So that's something. I'm glad we're under the median. That's a positive. Yeah. And then here, I thought this was interesting. This tells you where the taxes are coming from. So you can see Salt Lake City is very high on sales tax, which makes sense because they probably have people, they go there, they eat, they drink, they buy stuff, right? So they're getting a lot of it from sales tax. Riverton is higher on property tax a little bit. I do wonder if this will shift more to the sales tax part because I know I've talked to some of the elected officials here. We had a big mall kind of open. It's pretty cool. And apparently it's doing really well. So they've been getting more money than they expected. And hopefully this shifts more to the sales tax realm. That'd be great anyway. And with that, we are at time. So it's been a pleasure. You have been listening to the Goud Crowd. We are on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. And we'll be back next Monday. I'll try to have on one of the people we had on today to give updates about where things are for the August 22nd meeting. I'll also try to touch base with Mike Carey and see if he has any comment about what's going on. I don't know if he does or not. And then we'll also have Brandy come back and Monica Wilbur on to discuss how to deal with racism in schools. And I do think this one is interesting because, and I don't want to downplay it by saying it's interesting, but it's a white kid dealing with racism in a school that is majority racial minority. So that's what we'll have next week. So you can listen to us at my X handle, which is at Goud for Utah, at YouTube, Rumble, and X with Main Street Media Utah, and at kmmu.org. It has been a pleasure. In the meantime, the best place to catch me is on X at my handle, which is Goud 4 Utah. With that, it's been a pleasure, and I will see you.